Hello and welcome back to another edition of Premier League Predictions with myself, Matthew Christ, and four-time Premier League winner, Brian McClair. Brian, I'm just totting up my notes from last week, and I make it that you got 8 points in total with 2 correct scores. Bang on the nose. I'm just wondering what you put in your porridge last week.
Actually, I was a bit disappointed that it was which scored at Anfield, I think, as I predicted 4-0 to Liverpool. So I think I maybe set myself too high standards with regards to that particular weekend, but I think it was about time I came into some bit of form because it's been pretty poor recently.
Yeah, well, I was watching Arne Slot's press conference after the game, and he said how annoyed he was that he didn't keep a clean sheet. And I thought, not as annoyed as you will be that you didn't get your correct score prediction. But I suppose you can't have it all, can you?
Well, yeah, I mean, no, I can't. I mean, I was pleased with Saturday's results, but disappointed in Sunday's results. So we'll see what we can come up with this weekend against difficult fixtures.
You set the bar
time of year when it's sometimes impossible really to go with form. You know, if you look at some of the Newcastle probably is the most pertinent one, recently.
Okay. Well, let's crack on then. You set the bar high from last time with 8 points. We start week 24 with the Saturday 12:30 game. And it's Nottingham Forest on the back of a humbling at Bournemouth last week, home to Brighton.
Well, Brighton were wondering how 69% of possession, 16 shots resulted only in 1 shot on target, no goals and no points versus Everton at the Amex Stadium. A 6-game unbeaten run was halted. They've only won 2 of the last 11 Premier League games. But they have scored first in 10 out of 12 away games in the league. Forest's frugal defence conceded 22 goals in 22 Premier League games, disintegrated at Bournemouth. The 5 goals was 1 more than they had conceded in their previous 7 Premier League matches. Forest 2, Brighton 1.
Okay. Forest to come back on the back of that defeat with a win, you say. Let's move on to 3 o'clock and the aforementioned Bournemouth at home to high-flying Liverpool in what's got to be the game of the day, certainly, I'd have thought.
Well, Bournemouth have got the third longest unbeaten run at present in the Premier League with 11 games. Liverpool are number 1 with regards to unbeaten. They're unbeaten now in 18. They had the luxury of leaving 9 regular starters at home who did not even travel to Holland for their last Champions League game. Liverpool have failed to score once out of 15 Premier League meetings, with Bournemouth scoring at least 3 in 10 of those games. Bournemouth have lost 11 out of 12 Premier League games versus the team starting the day top of the table. Bournemouth 1, Liverpool 2.
You see Liverpool rolling on. I thought you might be predicting a stumble there, but no banana skin on the south coast, according to you, Nat.
Well, it could be, but I'm predicting a Liverpool win.
Okay. All right, we'll stick with that. Another one of your favourites now, in form Everton under David Moyes against Leicester, who had a great result last weekend.
Well, Leicester have won once in the last 8 meetings with Everton. And in fact, it was their last game at Goodison in November 2022. Liverpool and Forest have 1 more clean sheet than Everton with 8. However, the Toffees have also failed to score in more games than any other team this season. 12 games without scoring a goal. Everton's Dominic Calvert-Lewin, who will probably miss this game and several games with a hamstring injury, is comfortably at the top of the statistic table for offsides with how many, Matthew?
Tell me.
27.
That's a statistic to be proud of, is it?
Yeah. A lot more than any other striker or player in the Premier League. Everton 3, Leicester 1.
Okay. Even though he's not playing in the game, you had to shoehorn in that statistic, a relevant statistic, did you?
It's just something that came in. I just thought, I saw it and I thought, it's too good.
Yeah.
So let's see. It was there just saying use it, right, even though he's not playing or he's injured. So, I don't think he'll be playing. So he won't be increasing to that one for the next couple of weeks. So
fair enough. It's Ipswich Southampton next.
Well, 19th versus 20th. Southampton 6 points is the lowest of any Premier League campaign at this stage of the season. Ivan Djuric has seen his side lose 6 games in a row. Southampton have never lost 7 on the bounce. Talking about statistics, Taylor Harwood-Bellis and Jan Benderik have the most errors by outfield players that have led directly to a goal. They have had, if you're looking at the other way around, 7 assists between them for goals against Southampton. And only Southampton have collected fewer home points than Ipswich. Ipswich are the only Premier League team yet to give a single minute to a teenager this campaign. Ipswich 1, Southampton 2.
I'm tempted to ask where you're judging these statistics up from, and I think it will ruin the magic. I'll just leave it to you in future. Now, we got Newcastle, who are showing some fantastic form up against a Fulham side who were going pretty well until that defeat to United last weekend.
Well, Fulham have given 2017 minutes to English players this term, the lowest of any side in the Premier League. However, Newcastle with 12,779 are the second highest. Fulham are the only Premier League team to have 2 players who have played every minute of every game, every Premier League game. Bernd Leno and Anthony, spelt with a double E at the end, Robinson. Alexander Isak is now the second highest goal scorer for Newcastle in the Premier League and needs 1 more to be the leading Swedish scorer in the competition. He is presently level with her suitably coloured Freddie Ljungberg on 48. And I think he'll notch that one in the weekend's fixture against Fulham. Newcastle 3, Fulham 0.
I was going to ask if you had a lot of time on your hands this week, but I think that would be doing it.
I just tried to be a bit more professional, or less professional. I'm not quite where you look about thorough, and some of these things were just too good looking at. I haven't been a previous maths and statistics student. I just had to throw them in. I'm not finished yet either, so you'd be pleased to hear.
We can't wait to hear what you got up your sleeve. Starting with the 5:30 game on Saturday, it's Wolves versus Aston Villa.
Wolves have not done the double Villa have not done the double against Wolves since 2003, 2004. Unai Emery has lost just 1 of 29 against the sides in 18th, 19th or 20th position in the Premier League. And strangely enough, that was when he was coach manager of Arsenal when they contrived to lose a game 3-2 to the aforementioned Southampton. Wolves have lost the last 4 league games and they've got 1 win and 4 defeats from the last 5 Premier League games they have played at Molineux. And I think that run's going to continue. Villa were particularly impressive in their midweek fixture. Wolves 0, Villa 2.
2-0 Villa brings us up to half-time in this week's Premier League predictions. Myself and Brian are going to take a quick break, maybe sucker an orange. Brian's going to play with his abacus and join us in the second half to find out what he's got in store for us after the break. Welcome back to the second half of this week's Premier League predictions. We're on to Sunday's games, the first round of games on Sunday, the 2:00 kickoffs, and we start with a fascinating London derby. What would it be without a London derby? It's Brentford against Tottenham.
I'm sure you'd be fascinated by this as well, that Brentford have had 60 throw-ins that have ended up in their opponent's penalty box. Brentford have won 1 of their 7 Premier League meetings, with Spurs drawing 3 and losing the other 3. And all 3 of the draws have been at the G-Tech Stadium. Spurs have now lost 6 from 7 in the Premier League, drawn the other, and no side has picked up fewer points since the start of this run on the 22nd of December last year. Brentford 1, Spurs 3.
So I'm worried about the old curse that we seem to inflict on managers here, but Tottenham are going through a terrible time, particularly Ange Postecoglou, who I know you've got a lot of time for. Did you have sympathy with him? I mean, there's an argument to say he shouldn't still be in the job, but he's still plugging away despite all these defeats.
Well, I hope that they stick with him. They've got they've got Europe, and they've also got the what used to be called the League Cup. So I think that my feeling is that they stick with him. It seems that the players are comfortable with him. It's just that their is it fortune or the performances maybe haven't quite matched that. And of course, we have mentioned before, they do have a pretty dreadful injury list. I think they're at a point now where a situation with the game at the G-Tech where they have to win the game, and I'm predicting a win for Spurs in this game.
Okay, well, we can only pass on our apologies to Mr. Postecoglou if he doesn't win the game and he gets the sack. But we shall see next week. Talking of managers that have been under a bit of pressure, we got United Palace next.
Well, Palace have won 5 of the last 11 Premier League games against United, drawing 3 and losing 3, having incredibly won none in their previous 22. And Palace have now won 4 out of their last 5 away games. United failed to score in their last 3 meetings with Palace. Pretty terrible 0-0 draw early on in the season. And the last went 4 league games against the opponent without scoring between 1981 and 1983. And that was against Arsenal. In his 13th game in charge, Ruben Amorim is looking to win consecutive games for the first time. The last United manager to have such a run from the start of their reign was one Tommy Docherty in 1972-73, when he won or his team won the 13th and 14th game. So there is strange ups and downs and topsy-turvy with Manchester United. I'm going for a home win. United 2, Palace 0.
No surprises there at all. It wouldn't be a Premier League predictions without us talking about the certain Mr. Amorim's comments. A couple of weeks ago, we spoke about his comments saying that was the worst United team in history. Since we spoke then, he's now come out and said he...
Well, yeah, he mentioned the thing he said about the worst United team, and then he followed that up with his next press conference by saying that he recognised that maybe he shouldn't have verbalised his thoughts, but he's an emotional person, and it wasn't quite exactly how he thought that it was going to come across, or his intention of how it was going to come across, and he kind of retracted a bit from that and kind of apologised, I suppose, to his own players that we mentioned before, that he was going to need to believe in him and believe in his philosophy and his style of play. And then he's a dream at the moment for the media again by just answering the question. So in a way, it's quite refreshing, isn't it? And I know he was talking about one particular player, but really he's underlining what he said since he came in, that he is judging players, or his players, on all manners of behaviours and performance on a daily basis. And I suppose it's amusing, but very much headline worthy to say that he would rather put his 62-year-old goalkeeping coach on the bench before some players or certain players. Now, after he'd mentioned that and I saw that he was actually older than me, I was thinking of throwing myself in because I'm quite happy to be able to sit on the bench, just do a wee bit of warm-up. I think I'd be better prepared than some of the subs are, because it's one of the things that I think there was a game recently against Manchester United when one of the players was running around looking for the strip. Might have been Anthony, actually, who's now gone out on loan, and that would just, for me, be a no-no. If I was in charge, he wouldn't have got on. But yes, he is. So we'll look forward to his next press conference, maybe post-game at the weekend.
Well, yeah, I didn't want to give your age away, but you kind of did it for me. But yeah, I mean, do you think you could put in a shift for United or any of your other former colleagues at the club?
On the bench, of course, yeah.
Yeah, well, you could argue that you did a good shift on the bench towards the end of your career.
Well, there's potential. I'm pretty good at watching, and giving a view and an opinion on that. And one of my jobs was that Sir Alex Ferguson would give me little messages. So several times I nearly got booked without getting on the pitch for running down the sidelines, passing out messages to the players. Nowadays, there's so many subs now, that there's so many subs get on that to take bits and pieces of paper on the pitch for them, that to pass on. That was, I think it was at the end, I was pretty decent at that, yeah.
Yeah, well, but I mean, in all seriousness, we spoke the other week about what he expects to get out of these comments. They're not throwaway lines. I'm sure he's got some method in what he's trying to do. I mean, again, with that, and I assume we're talking about Marcus Rashford here. Would that having a play?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's the simple thing that you can only be players are only useful to you when they're fit. So anybody's only interested in players fit and available to pull the jersey over their head. After that, all they're expecting is them to do the best they can, to appear to do the very best they can, and he's making those judgments every day, and he's mentioned all different facets of it, not just about running around on a training pitch, but how they dress, how they behave, how they communicate, and he's decided that he can't take the risk on someone who's not going to come up to those standards, and may well have already decided on their own or with their advisors that their future, certainly in the short term, is best served to be away from Old Trafford. So maybe he's also Amorim has said that he's not in the mental frame to give him 100% mentally, and he's clearly suggesting he's not able to or not willing to do 100% effort.
Okay, well, we'll wait and see what Ruben Amorim provides us with next week in his post-match interview, and look forward to that very much. Back to the football, 4:30 on Sunday really is the match of the weekend, and a game I'm sure Liverpool fans will be hoping ends in a draw. It's Arsenal versus Manchester City.
Well, those of you can remember the reverse fixture in Manchester, it's certainly lots of talking points, sending off a late goal and then Erling Haaland stoating the ball off Gabriel's head. And for those who don't understand what stoating is, it's throwing the ball and hitting violently against the back of the centre-half's head. So that'll be an interesting confrontation should both players, who I imagine they will, start the game on Sunday afternoon. Between 2012 and 2023, City had won 12 in a row versus the Gunners, but are winless in their last 3. City are unbeaten in 6 away games, have won 4 and drawn 2, and Phil Foden has scored more goals in January than any other player, 6, and from 6 shots, Matthew. Quite an incredible effort by him recently. Since Mikel Arteta became manager of Arsenal, they have received more red cards than any other side, 19. 5 of the last goals that Arsenal have scored against City have come from corners, including one in that aforementioned game in Manchester. Arsenal 2, City 1.
Okay, so you're predicting City's comeback to end pretty abruptly on Sunday afternoon.
I am.
Yeah. Okay. After claiming they were back, you're throwing a bucket of cold water.
Throwing them back out.
Yeah. Understandable on current form. Last game of the weekend is a Monday night fixture. It's, of course, a London derby, but a tasty one at that. It's Chelsea at home to West Ham.
Yes, very. I agree. It could be excellent game, this one. After another error that led to a goal in Manchester, Robert Sanchez has now got 5 to his name, Chelsea's goalkeeper. And he's now joint top with Ipswich's goalkeeper, Buric. And Maresca may opt to leave him out for this game. West Ham played very well in the second half at Villa and were unfortunate not to leave with all 3 points, despite playing the game due to injury and suspensions. An actual recognised centre forward. I caught the second half of that game. I thought West Ham were excellent. In January 2004, West Ham drew 0-0 at Stamford Bridge, and the Chelsea manager on that occasion was one Jose Mourinho, who said that West Ham played football from the 19th century. Surprisingly enough, the manager for West Ham on that occasion was Sam Allardyce, who, when told about Jose's comment in the press conference, just laughed. Chelsea 3, West Ham 0.
Okay, well, that wraps up another exciting edition of Premier League predictions for this week. Don't forget to join us next time for more of Brian's worthless statistics, shall we say, and maybe more chat about Ruben Amorim's post-match comments. We'll see how Brian gets on, see if he can top that record 8 points this week, and we'll see you again next time. Goodbye for now.